Welcome back everybody to Forza Motorsport, and today we're taking a look at the 2022 Hyundai Elantra N. So this is part of the 7th generation of the Elantra, and production started in 2020. This N variant was announced in July 2021, and being the sports version of the car, it's had a whole host of extras added to it to make it more sporty, more striking to look at, and just generally a better car to drive. So it's got the likes of reinforced strut mounts, an increase in body rigidity, stiffer sway bars, an independent multi-link rear suspension setup as opposed to the torsion beam suspension setup of the standard car, improved brakes, wider tyres that are also stickier, and an electronic torque vectoring limited slip differential. It's also got bigger exhausts, a rear spoiler, bucket seats on the interior, and to harness all of the extra power and torque that it's got, an 8-speed double clutch transmission. So yeah, and top of it all off, you've also got a little bit of additions of bodywork. You've got that red trim on the bottom round there, which reminds me of an old Golf GTI. And then yeah, just a general look of the thing in overall, it just looks really rather nice. I think it's really well proportioned. I like the size of the twin exhausts at the rear. I like the different wheels that this has got over the standard car, and yeah, at the end of the day, it does what a sports saloon should do. It should look good, it should drive well, but it also shouldn't be sacrificing its practicality at the end of on top of all of that, which it doesn't. It's got a really nice interior, as you can see. Now you can get a 6-speed manual with this, but this double clutch transmission is the faster transmission for the car, so therefore the acceleration is that bit quicker than it would ever be on a manual transmission. But still, it's got a decent amount of legroom. It does look a little bit dark in there, I think, which probably isn't helped by the fact it's not got any rear quarter windows, but you still got a sunroof on there, so that will obviously help, and it does have a big rear window, which is also nice. I like the look of the spoiler as well. It's, you know, noticeable, but it's not garish or overwhelming. And then you got a chunk of rear boot space as well, which, as you can see, has some extra strengthening bars in there as well to help in that rigidity of the vehicle. And yeah, to top it all off, you've got a decent engine underneath as well. So we've got the 2-litre turbocharged inline 4 that we've already seen in the likes of the i30N. But in this car it produces 276 horsepower and 289 pounds-feet of torque. So that's 5 extra horsepower and 10 extra pounds-feet of torque over the i30N, which it needs, to be honest, because obviously with this being a saloon car, it is a bit heavier of a vehicle at 3,296 pounds, which isn't a huge amount over the i30N. It certainly isn't, massively different in terms of the acceleration, because even though it does have a little bit of modicum of extra power, you wouldn't expect that modicum of extra power to make such a difference in terms of acceleration, but it does, coupled with that DCT gearbox that it's got going on. So yeah, both of those elements do make this a quicker car in a straight line over the i30, despite that additional amount of weight going on. And to be honest, that additional amount of weight does also have a benefit in the fact that, being a larger car, it's a more practical car. So yeah, it's got a bigger boot than the hatchback, and yeah, it's also got more rear legroom on top of that as well. So yeah, and overall I do like the look of this car. I think the Hyundai have really got it nailed down with their design language, and yeah, follows on from the i20 and the i30, and yeah, this really does help have its own distinct look to it, but it's also recognisably a modern Hyundai. Nonetheless, so let's get out onto a track and see what this car can do. Right, so we're at Hockenheim National Circuit, and as per usual, we're going to listen to what the car sounds like for part of the first lap, and then we'll talk about it some more. So yeah, sounds fairly similar to the i30 to be honest, which is to be expected given it's the same engine. Although I imagine it is a damn sight louder than the standard Elantra with those two big exhausts that it's now got going on. But yeah, in terms of the way that it drives really, really nicely, to be honest. It's got a good amount of front end grip, it turns in nicely, you don't really feel like you've got a lot of torque steer going on, and because of that multi-link rear suspension, it doesn't feel all that, unresponsive in terms of its rear capabilities. Driving the i20N more now, I found that the rear end does feel a little bit stiff and a little bit, unfeeling in terms of what it's doing. Whereas here, yeah, you just know that the rear end is compliant with the front end. So yeah, that means you can be really, really confident in what you want in the car. You know it's not going to suddenly have issues with the rear end, and yeah, I have no issues with it being only front wheel drive. As yeah, they've done a bang up job with that, setup, quite frankly. And yeah, with that double clutch transmission on top of all that torque, you've got a fairly good acceleration times as well. 0 to 60 is only in 5.3 seconds. 0 to 112.683 seconds, and it goes to a top speed of 167 miles an hour, which is, yeah, proper sports saloon territory, quite frankly. No, it's not got the typical sports saloon setup of either rear wheel drive or all wheel drive, but I feel like the front wheel drive layout for this does have its own advantages. It's got good turning. It also means that you don't have a drive line going through the car, so you've got more rear leg room as well as more boot space. And yeah, at the end of the day, you're not really going to notice it on an open road, to be honest, unless you're hooning it around a track, which, yeah, you will get some understeer here and there. As you saw there, we were getting a little bit of smoke out the front end, but it's not, egregious or unrewarding or anything to drive. So yeah, I really, really like this car. It does remind me of sports saloon cars of old, outside of the fact that it's front wheel drive, because it's lightweight, it doesn't weigh a ton like some modern sports saloons do. You look at your Audis and your BMWs and you're looking at pretty much £1,000 extra in weight, and yes, they have the extra power and acceleration to make up for that weight, but they do feel as heavy as they are, whereas this just does not. It really does feel nice and lightweight, and yeah, really rather direct, and then you've got a fair decent amount of power regardless of it not having as much as your BMWs and Audis, and it's more than enough to complement the car in terms of what it can do and its price range, and also having good economy and anything like that. So yeah, overall a really rather fantastic sports saloon. It's probably one of my favourite sports saloons that are from the modern era, 2020s onwards. Compare it to say like sort of a Nissan Sentra Nismo, which really did feel lightweight in terms of its sports car credentials, whereas this, yeah, has been completely overhauled in pretty much every manner, and yeah, it's all the better for it. So yeah, fantastic car to drive. It's currently got a certain percentage of its showroom price, so it's cheaper than ever to get it, as it was released today as of recording to the game for the first time. It's the first time it's ever been on a Forza game, and yeah, I'm really glad it has been added to this game. It now complements the other Hyundais that have also been added to this game. So yeah, overall a really, really good vehicle and a nice driving car as well, and yeah, I look forward to seeing what it can do on the track against competitors, be they AI or real life. Nonetheless, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.